think now we're gonna pivot on and just sort of look at each team, take a brief look at where they stand now as the test window goes on ice.
Yeah, and we're going to start with France.
Yes, the Champions League with the Grand Slam winners. I mean, obviously, this is a good news story at the moment for a team that last year was, actively throwing games away when they had a chance of winning silverware.
Yes, that's true.
In bizarre ways, like with Brice Doolan against Scotland and the antics against Australia. It was a consistent theme of craziness from them, and to then show up on the biggest stage and just arm in face of England for the whole game, to dig out a big away win in a tough game against Wales with their defence,
and like they absolutely put Scotland to the sword away from home, where Murrayfield can be tricky to go to. They demonstrated championship credentials throughout their whole campaign, and obviously it felt like a decider in round 2 when they met Ireland, and as it kind of turns out on the table, it looked that way, it felt that way. Best game of the tournament, and they came out on top, and they did it in a very French way by setting the tempo, setting the tone early, something they succeeded in doing in every game this time, stamping their authority on it with a try, take the lead, let's go, and that affords them a little bit of time to get a breather in the middle kind of third of the game, so that they can go again towards the tail end and close them out.
They weren't working too hard, they weren't ever chasing the game, they were striking in key moments, be it off kick return or off set piece. They were launching and striking, and then going back to playing a defense first game
with such leaders like Fiku. Like they have such strength and depth, but it feels like Fiku is a fulcrum in that defensive unit. And he's kind of, you can see he's the deputized leader of that defense, and he's kind of the voice of that Edwards based defense. You can see him kind of marshalling things and marshalling the troops, and having guys like Dante, who's an absolute rock inside him, kind of operates similar to the way Delende Am works for the Springboks in terms of just shutting down so many avenues for teams to attack you in, and then having ferocious acumen at every breakdown. It's just across the park. They're just their ethos, their whole team dynamic is very clear now, and they do go after breakdowns. They throw their weight around and they disrupt you at every given cause, trusting that guys like Fiku can shut down the outside. But even when they're committing numbers to the breakdown, they want to make it a scrap. They want to make you kind of scrap for every ball, have slow ball, and then they want to strike when you get a little loose and drop it.
Yeah, absolutely. And they still have all of those explosive capabilities on offense. I mean, the defense, yes, it was brilliant. It was the fulcrum behind which they sort of were able to win this tournament in many ways, and we know how good the Edwards defence was, and it was even better this year than it had been in terms of its shape, in terms of the powerful counter-rucking. But one of the things that I think was most notably improved, and it was everywhere, it was all over the pitch in every player, was the successes that they were having in the contact, be it on defence, on offence, or in the breakdown. Anywhere, every time they were engaging an opponent in a contact area, they had a hustle about them, they had a technique about them that was winning them contacts. But like even obviously Dupont is your classic example, little man, and he's always had a bit of that, like where he'll just swivel his hips and get away from players. But even like that game against England, it comes to full circle where they're just doing it routinely to class players. They're slipping off a Toji, be it Cyril Bay or Gavin Villiers or whoever it is finds himself one-on-one, whether he has the ball or not. They were winning those contacts. And it was often with little judo maneuvers where you're actually playing a bit of arm fight and getting in on top of someone, playing a bit of hip fight and getting away from someone. They were consistently getting on the front foot of contacts on both the offense and defensive side. It's something they've clearly actively been working on.
Post contact meters on either side of the pill. And getting them.
Or with the pill on the floor in the ruck. The counter rucking was sensational, but the technical ferocity of what they were doing in the contact sets them apart, I think, from everybody else.
And guys like Cyril Bay, just like his capacity to engage like 3 defenders on the feet, win the collision, and get the hands free and get the ball away to Dupont with no ruck required. It was very, very impressive. And guys like Willems are trucking through folks as well. They were a bit of a machine, a big juggernaut. The work rate out of their whole back row, you were right pointing out Francois Quap, but like guys like Aldrit were everywhere and indefatigable as well. Woki really good in the air. Their defensive line out very, very good. A few little wibbles on their own line out on a few occasions, certainly in Wales, but their defensive acumen, their capacity to disrupt you at scrum, at line out, even on restart, because guys like Villiers are terriers on the restart as well. Really well rounded look to the team this year. They look very, very well balanced, but they probably will kind of need to kick on from this. This isn't mission accomplished at all. They know that they are very much a goal centric young group, and it is France 2023. That is the goal. So this is just one of the important boxes checked. Is that when are France? This time last year we were doing this roundup, and the video is titled "When are France going to win a trophy?" And the answer is 2022. Six Nations Grand Slam champions, and they've thoroughly deserved.
No question. I think. You know, one of the things looking into the year to come, I mean, obviously the team that stands out as one to catch is South Africa.
Yeah.
And
it's one that's in their firing line, because in that quarter final they stand to meet either Ireland or South Africa.
Either Ireland or South Africa, that's right. And they do play them this November as well, which will be interesting too. But I mean, it's like what's interesting about that game is they're still playing quite a risk-averse style. Like they're dynamic and they're explosive, but only in moments where it really suits them, either off kick return where the team is kicking from a defensive position. There aren't too many sort of try from the end of the earth's breakouts for them. They're probably not committing enough to set piece attack, and I think they're going to have to get a little braver in those kind of games against South Africa. I think they have a great pack. I don't know if they quite match up well against the Springboks, despite how good their pack is. I think that's a different kind of level, and I think I don't think
it combines with things like their aerial skill. Like, yes, they're great on kick return and transition in the actual aerial contests, and Jaminet is a young fullback, but he's quite a diminutive one, and they do struggle. Like Villiers is a short guy as well, but the teams have found purchase against them, and that's one where some of the Springboks would definitely do it. So it's in their mind's eye for that knockout stage of that World Cup a year away. Those are the kinds of things. But we saw them last year pulling the trigger with some beautiful set pieces.
That's right. No, it's not that it's not in them. It's more that when the defence is so good, there's a tendency to lean on it because it's more risk averse. And that's like, especially in that Wales game, you saw them really lean into they were kind of a little bit worried about the game itself, and they didn't play their own game. They were kind of a bit jittery, a bit panicky, and it was just a sense of get the ball down there, trust the defence, trust the defence. Defence saw them home, but only just. I mean, one little pass to Jonathan Davis, and Wales would have stolen a game that France shouldn't have lost. So they should cast a critical eye on that and just think about the middle period of games and how they can manage them a little better and not stop playing offense.
They let Ireland back in as well when they shouldn't have either. Like, that game should have been iced and they should have been in more control than they were.
Could argue even the England game, it's the middle period of games where they do just stop playing offense and try and lean on their defense, and you can come unstuck doing that.
You can, it's tempting fate doing it that way. But it was written in the stars that they were to be the best team. They looked at coming out of last year when they were pumping the All Blacks to sign off on the season, and it's come good for them this year, and I'm kind of delighted, to be honest. It's great to have France back in the fold as far as the colour of the Six Nations and just the quality of offensive rugby we're being treated to now, as well as good quality defensive juggernauts that we see in blue at the minute.
They look special. They look special. Really good generation. They're going to be one of the top three favourites, if not the overall favourites, come the World Cup next year. They got some brilliant players and a brilliant coaching staff, an elite team that earns some well-earned silverware, and they're here to stay. I think this France team for the next couple of years. So buckle up, everybody.
Yeah, delighted for it. A bit more magic, blue magic. Love it.
Thank you very much for watching that video. If you're new here, please do like and subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified when we upload again. But mainly, please drop a comment down below. We enjoy hearing your thoughts on it. Thanks.